what's happening in America. This is called suicide. 36 years ago, I met Kevin. I thought he had cerebral palsy when I first met him. He was riding a unicycle that you connect to your wheelchair. You pick up the two front wheels and then you hook this tire up and you pedal it like this, and it turns your wheelchair into a three-wheel unicycle, and you pedal it with your arms, and it was really fun to use. I bought one a few years later. It turns out that Kevin didn't have cerebral palsy. He had Friedreich's ataxia, which is a very cruel form of muscular dystrophy. It not only affects your muscles, but it also affects your nervous system. Kevin was working on his master's in social work. He lived with another roommate, Kevin, who learned Japanese, and he was a white dude. Both Kevin, both Kevins were really smart. Kevin had two brothers who also had the same disability. They were older, Russell and James. Kevin had a high IQ of about 150. He was a genius, and so were Russell and James. James worked for the Navy on computers, and nobody knew what he did. It was classified. They picked him up in the morning and brought him home at night. James was hunched over, and his speech would crack and pop, but when he spoke, you could understand him pretty well when he spoke. Russell was a genius, but he was bored and he didn't stay in college, and he stayed at home and worked on his computer. He could not walk, but it appeared that his disability was a lot better than Russell and Kevin's. When Kevin spoke, I thought he had CP when I first met him. Kevin was awesome. We both enjoyed great music. We both saw the band Yes and met some of the band members backstage. This was like 30 years ago. Kevin was spiritual and looked at God very openly. When we went to San Francisco once to visit his roommate Kevin, we went to watch a laser show by Pink Floyd. Kevin was pretty spastic at this time. He was losing more of his speech. Anyway, he did some magic mushrooms, and I told him I wouldn't feel that secure enough to do it. He felt he would be fine with his spirituality and with God. I kept looking at him, and he had this great big smile on his face, and he was going like this to the music, watching the show. He told me while watching Pink Floyd, while doing one of the songs, Welcome to the Machine, that he became a bolt and part of the machine. After the show, we went and we ate two big burritos, and we ate them, and we were like two kids who you see eating spaghetti afterwards. It was all covered with all our faces and all our shirts, and we looked like a mess, but we were both laughing at each other because we enjoyed the food and had a great time. Kevin started to get worse, and he had not talked to his parents in some time. He knew that they were helping James and Russell, and he wanted to live his own life and be free and not a burden to his parents. He lost all his speech, and you had to get down to hear him whisper. Like he was real spastic, and he had to use a urinal in his wheelchair at this time. And he would use it, and he didn't carry the urinal on his chair wherever he was. If he had to use it, he'd just pull out the urinal and use it. Eventually, he used the leg bag, and he would still wear that even if he wore shorts or a swimming suit. He didn't care what it looked like. Once he had problems with his wheelchair, it was like 100 degrees out, and the fire department got in touch with me. They could not understand him, and I met up with him, and I told him what he wanted, and they brought him home. I told Kevin he should get a word board or a computer, and Kevin said, hell with them. If they don't want to take the time to understand me or try to talk with me as me, then I don't want to talk to them. I understood what he was saying, but at times it made it more difficult for us. He would eat dinner a couple times here, and a couple times his body would twitch and he would spasm, and the food would fly off the TV tray and it would end up on the floor, and he'd be all upset, and I would say, fuck it, Kevin. Elsie, our dog, will eat it. Don't worry about it, man. We'll get you some more food. And we give him another plate. He is about 36, and I was about 41. One day he got tired of it all. He put on side one of Close to the Edge by Yes and took a bunch of pills. After side one was over, which was about 25 minutes, he called up the ambulance and they took him to the hospital, and he had to have his stomach pumped. After he came home, a few days later, we were out by the pool. I went out by the pool with him to talk about it. I did not pry or judge him. I told him I would have really been sad if he had killed himself, but I understood that he was in a lot of pain and his life was a lot of hell, and people would not understand it unless they have lived through it. Kevin always tried to have fun. At church once, he dressed up as half woman and half man, and he gave a lot of money to his church. And then at times they, after when he got worse, they stopped helping him so much. They kind of abandoned him. Kevin started to get worse, so he went home to live with his parents. His parents were real proud of him and the life he lived. James, Russell, and Kevin and their dad, who was about 80, all died within 9 months of each other. Kevin's parents were divorced for years, but lived together to take care of Russell and James, and then Kevin. All the sons knew that their parents sacrificed a lot for them. Kevin was a warrior and fought to the end, and his body was really bad in the end. Kevin died 23 years ago at the age of 38, and he taught me a lot about life and gratitude and how we should be thankful and grateful for this life. And I am glad that he taught me so much and that he was my friend. My dad met Kevin and thought he was pretty incredible, and he told me that he could tell that he was pretty intelligent when he spoke. I think of Kevin and people who bitch about life and politics or do meth or crack or heroin, and I don't say it to them, but often I think, what a bunch of fucking idiots. Thanks for being part of my life, Kevin. And I did this video today because times are so crazy in America. with the bitching about politics and people still doing drugs and being mean to one another daily, I had to do this video. Thanks again, Kevin, and I hope that you always inspire me until the day I die. Thank you.